Hello, everyone. It is Wednesday. I tell you. How are you tonight? Welcome to Wednesday. What happened in your day? What are you grateful for this Wednesday night? This Wednesday night, the 9th of June already. The 9th of June. Let's talk about that. What is happening in your world? Michelle, how are you? Great to have you here live. And first, I'm just saying, you were in first tonight. Congratulations. It is great to have you here. What are you all grateful for this Wednesday night? It is Hump Day. Adele's here. That means Dazzle's here. Dazzle, that means it's treat time. Oh, I love you, Michelle. You're always tops in my book. You're awesome. You're awesome. I remember early on when you were all fighting to be first. Nobody fights to be first anymore. Nobody fights to be first. Everybody just wonders who I'm pointing to at the end. Did you point to me? Yes, I was pointing at you. Yes, you know I was. What is happening in your Wednesday? Supposedly the last day of extreme heat this week. Extreme heat and humidity this week in our area. Still warm tomorrow, but much less humid, which will be nice. I will be grateful for that tomorrow if we get less humidity. Although I was over there all day today. Well, except for when I was Nana-ing. Nana-ing, is that a thing? Except for when I was running Nana around, I was over there today. But it is great. I am grateful to have you all here. I'm glad that you're all here and smiling. You had day one of a new hire. That's awesome. That is awesome. We had a good interview with a new candidate today. And she's coming back for her second interview on Friday. So good interview today, second on Friday. Good enough that people were asking, can we pay her more? You know, I mean, they were checking with HR. Do we have more money for her? Sure. Does it make my life easier? We're going to talk a lot about hiring in the coming days. One of the topics that we've talked a lot about in the Whiz-Bang Summit this week, the Retail Success Summit, they talked a lot about hiring. There were a lot of conversations about it. So I have excerpts of that to talk about. Michelle says yes. You're just like every other woman in my life, Michelle. You can spend my money freely. It doesn't matter. What the heck? Well, you know, it is that the short version is if you can get good people that make your life easier, it is worth a little extra. I mean, it just simply is. And in right now, very competitive job market, it is very much worth it. So I am there with that, and it's actually nice to have people applying that are asking about other benefits. You know, we do offer health insurance, dental and vision to full-time workers. We do have a IRA plan, and I know not everybody has that, and it's taken us a long time to get to that. So I'm not diminishing anybody that doesn't have that, but that is, you know, to have people interested in that as well, because we've gone through ebbs and flows of that. So if that is getting us somebody that is more interested in us than something else, that is good. But what we're seeing in people that are currently employed that are applying for work, one of the key things that we're seeing is they're looking for someplace to be happy at. We all know the last year has been trying. We all know the last year has been trying. But the fact that people are looking to be in their happy place is a good thing. I'm down with that. I am truly down with it. So that is a good thing. Let's get tonight started. Let's get tonight started with the Good Morning, Good Night book. The Good Morning, Good Night book is where we start tonight, as soon as I find my glasses. Over there on the desk. I don't know when I chipped my glasses. I got a little chip in my glasses. Tonight in the Good Morning, Good Night book, we're starting on page 178. 178 if you're following along in the book. Good morning. Give a little more than you think you can today. It'll come back around somehow, I promise. That's what I got for you. We are broadcasting tonight on both YouTube and Facebook. So if you are not on the having any problems with the Facebook, you can hop right on over to YouTube. Hop right on over. Boom, that's trivia. I like this quote from Simon tonight. Our quote from Simon tonight is, "There's no shortage of causes in this world, just a shortage of leaders who can inspire us to pursue them." There's no shortage of causes in this world, just a shortage of leaders who can inspire us to pursue them. You know, we talked about how PacSun is turning things around, and thanks, Michelle. I'm glad that you found some good nuggets in my videos. I'm always glad to hear that. Hey, Kelly, how are you? It's hump day, Kelly. And tomorrow night's yoga night. I'm just saying. We're one day away from yoga night. You know, this continues to be interesting as people, where do you reach teens and where do you reach them? And PacSun is part of their turnaround, and part of what's happening in this world is hopping on Roblox, the game. Okay, and that is where you can find the latest PacSun accessories that you can then buy in real life. You can buy it in the game, then buy it in real life. And that is, you know, we have seen several, even luxury retailers doing that. I think we had Gucci doing that and stuff. Hey, Ellen, how are you? It is great to have you here. Hi to you and Mike. It's the middle of the week, so you're not at your happy place, so you're not at the beach tonight. But you're just days away from being back at the beach. Just days away. So, you know, that is where people are connecting right now, where the major retailers are working towards. So that is interesting to be aware of. Okay, I'm not saying that any of you are going to start advertising inside video games. Okay, but it is important to note that that's where these people are. Okay, everything from Gucci to PacSun is now becoming a fixture inside these video games and is paying to be there. So kudos, Roblox. But you know, it's something to keep an eye on. Yay, you're heading to the beach. Chic at the beach. I'm feeling the chic at the beach. I got to catch up with you, Miss Ellen. It feels like it has been too long, which means it's probably been even longer than that. Five Below. So we started talking about this last night, and it's part of our whole inventory topic this month. You know, the CEO of Five Below was interviewed and says the retailer is well positioned to handle inflation. Okay, the retailer is well positioned to handle inflation. Okay, but you got to understand beyond the headline. Beyond the headline. Okay, you know, in the olden days, we'd call that below the fold. What's below the fold? Well, below the fold is handling inflation or the higher cost of things, you know. And this is the same for dollar stores and everything, okay, is their answer to higher prices is Five Beyond. Okay, so they've created the store within a store, Five Beyond, which has items from $5 to $10. And so that is what they're using. They're moving more things into that to maintain margins and to maintain profitability. So that is how they're dealing with the increased costs. And there's room to increase prices. Again, that is part of all this, is there is room. Everything is going up. Okay, you are going to see, one way that I've thought about this is, they've talked a lot about how this pandemic advanced everything. Okay, it added, 5 years of innovation happened in a year, or 10 years of innovation happened in a year. Those types of quotes have been said. Okay, but what's more than that is that that is happening in other areas. That is happening in wages. Okay, wages on the lower end on retail workers is rising faster than it has. So it is advancing 5 years. If you think about the drive to $15 an hour, okay, the price of merchandise is rising faster, okay, than it has in years, okay, and growing faster. 5 years worth of growth in a year is what you're seeing in some areas of the market. And, so that's okay. So it's sort of evening out, but you have to be doing all that. Okay. And the big guys are doing that. And that's why we're talking about it, because you have to be doing it. You have to be looking at and absorbing and passing on some of these costs, while also innovating and getting more efficient to mitigate the effect of that on your business. So, but they say that Five Beyond, as an example, is doing very, very well. So that is a good thing. There's a lot to absorb. Michelle. And this is not all, do this all at once, but we have to be thinking about these things. And how do you get your quarters and your nickels? Because part of it is, from an inventory perspective, you're either the high end, you're the luxury retailer, or you're the low end. The middle is always fighting for money. And so, not thinking of yourself as the middle, but it's easier to drive up prices on the low end. It's easier to drive up prices on the high end, okay, or maintain margins on the high end. If you're always thinking of yourself as a middle of the road retailer, it's much harder fighting for the middle. Think about that. That it's the same in family. It's easy to be the oldest and the youngest. The kid in the middle is the lost sibling, right? I mean, I'm not making this stuff up. I'm just saying reality here, people. Despite the recovery, okay, so this is very interesting. Again, this is what you're competing with. Despite the recovery, major retailers are taking longer to pay their suppliers. Big companies, on average, took 58 days to pay their suppliers in the first quarters of 2021, up 5.5% from the comparable period last year. For fiscal 2020, businesses took 62 days on average to pay their suppliers. So think about that. Think of how quickly you pay people, how quickly you pay your suppliers. Okay, the person selling to Macy's, could take 62 days. Actually, longer, I think. Hang on a second. I think I actually have Macy's. And they're proud of this. Not only is this reality, they talk about it during earnings calls as as proof that they're good managers of their resources. Macy's, for example, saying it takes them on average during the first quarter of this year 163 days to pay a bill. So if you submit your bill to Macy's today, you sell this shirt to Macy's, on average, it's going to take them 163 days, okay, almost half a year till you get paid for it. What kind of consignment deal is that? Okay. A year ago, during the pandemic, Macy's was paying at 134 days, okay, a third of a year. Now they've moved it up to half a year that it takes them to pay a bill. And, okay, unlike your bank account, at the same time Macy's is doing this, they have an almost $2 billion in cash on hand. Okay? They're not paying their vendors. They're dragging it out. They're squeezing the little guy, and they have almost $2 billion in cash on hand. The company that owns Oreo and Ritz, just another example, okay? I mean, this really turned me off on Oreos. I'm just saying. And who doesn't like a Ritz with their cheese? Cheese and crackers, okay? Okay, this year, they're not as bad as Macy's. They're taking 130 days to pay their bills, which is up 8 days from a year earlier. But there are good companies out there. I mean, some of the tech companies and other things are doing good, and defense companies, are paying faster. But retailers are really, and these manufacturers of foods to markets and things like that, are doing a really lousy job. I can't go into Macy's and say, I'll pay you in 6 months. Okay, same as cash. Macy's isn't going to do that. My Macy's card will charge me 30% interest if I did that. But that is what these big guys are doing. And all the big guys are proud of it. They are actually talking about it during their earnings calls. If I was telling my vendors that I was paying people, we'll pay you in 3 months, in half a year. We won't pay you before half a year. How many consignments would you get? Okay. That wouldn't get you any Louis in your store, if you told people that. Did you know, talking about useless statistics, so not useless statistics, interesting statistics, MailChimp does approximately $700 million in annual revenue. $700 million in annual revenue. Okay. Do you know how much of that company is family owned by the original founders? MailChimp. Any ideas? I know a lot of you guys that tune in are users of MailChimp. Anybody know how much of that company is family? How much is a percentage of that $700 million is a family owned company? Any guesses? On that, I'll come back to it. You guys post your guesses, and I'll come back to that. Myth Ursa. I am not pronouncing that name right. Myth Ursa. Mytheresa is the latest to hop on the gently used bandwagon. The luxury retailer is rolling out a new handbag resale service in partnership with Vistari Collective. And they're letting customers exchange their pre-loved purses for store credit. There you go. J. Jill. I mean, we've talked. J. Jill has been on a roller coaster, but they are bouncing back from pandemic doldrums. With year-over-year growth of 42%, but that's not what's important because year-over-year numbers are useless. But they posted an actual profit of $8.7 million versus a loss of nearly $90 million. and they stayed out of bankruptcy when everybody else was. They were on the edge. They were on the edge. J. Jill was, and I have having worked with J. Jill, having consulted with J. Jill when they were a younger company. I have a lot of, I'd hate to see them fall under. So it's nice to see them turn around and move to an operating profit. And a big part of that, what they credit to their success, is improved inventory management with increased margins and less markdowns. More at full price, people. Who's been talking about that? Who's been talking about that? But apparel companies are in their trouble right now. Hey, Kitty, great to have you here. Oh, take Sarah over us anytime. I'm glad that you had to catch up with Sarah. You're just in time to hop into tonight's trivia question, which is how much of MailChimp is still family owned? How much of MailChimp, which did $700 million in sales last year, is still family owned? Think about that for a second. So supply chain issues are running rampant on anybody that's bringing in cargo. What used to take 60 days to get things from overseas is now taking 6 months and more. So, I mean, everybody's moving up dates, trying to get their holiday stuff. I've covered that. But apparel brands, making sure they don't miss out, are actually doing air cargo, which also costs more. But at the same time, that cargo on a container ship is costing 4 and 5 times what it did a year ago. A container that would have cost $3,000 now costing $12,000 to $15,000. It is really, but you're going to see that in apparel prices. So just keep in mind, you're going to see it in the prices of everything. That is part of the inflation we're talking about. And that's okay. So we've had 80% guess that's still family owned, 10%, and that it's 100% still family owned. Carrie, you are correct. MailChimp, which was bootstrapped on just like you opened your stores, borrowing from family, putting money on credit cards, and now drives nearly $700 million in annual revenue, is still a family owned, 100% family owned operation. 100%. And I just thought that was awesome. I just thought that was great. Hey, Jennifer, it is great to have you here. I apologize for not getting with you today. You've shifted to my tomorrow list, but you're still on my list. Hopefully you and the Flower Pantry still love me. The National Retail Federation, our friends. Yeah, I mean, that's really exciting. I mean, that's almost check billionaire exciting. Michelle, I mean, if you're looking, for somebody, I mean, that's almost, it's right up there. Our friends at the National Retail Federation. Our friends at the National Retail Federation have said their forecast for retail sales this year is wrong. It is wrong. They had forecasted $4 trillion in sales. $4 trillion in sales. And now they are predicting between 4.44 trillion and 4.56 trillion because of the way the pandemic's rolling out, and or getting extinguished in the United States. That the United States is well on track for a strong retail economic recovery. So I appreciate that from our friends at the National Retail Federation. They are actually having, and I'm so excited about it, tomorrow they're having their first in-person board meeting of the National Retail Federation Board since before the pandemic. The last one was at the NRF Big Show. Would have been a year ago, January, or more than a year ago. Yeah, so January 2020 would have been the last in-person board meeting. So it is really exciting that they are having an in-person board meeting in Washington, D.C. They're probably eating out tonight and enjoying that. I'm excited for them. And, that's a small step towards returning to life. When you look at all the big-time retail CEOs that are on the National Retail Federation board, that they are all around a big table together, plus my buddy who represents small business and his pet store is on there, is representing small business on that board, is just great. So that is an exciting thing, but that retail forecast is awesome. We all know parking is premium, okay? Having parking is premium, but how much would you pay to have a right for a parking space? How much would you pay to have that parking space in front of your store so you could use it? How much would you pay for a parking space? That's like my bonus trivia tonight. I've got 2 trivias in one night, and it's not even Friday when I have my normal trivia. How much would you pay to have the right to use a parking space? Think about that for a second. And, there isn't enough people wanting to be in resale. Stitch Fix is contemplating getting into resale. Stitch Fix is contemplating getting into the red hot used apparel market. It's definitely something that's on our minds as a business, the CEO told analysts on a call Monday. Though there are no specifics to share, the data advantage that we have can be just as powerful, if not more powerful, in the second-hand world than in the first-hand world. It can be more powerful in the second world than in the first world, the data they have. I mean, I can't make this stuff up. But they're still a money loser. All they're doing is spending venture capital. They lost almost $19 million in the last quarter, versus a loss of $34 million a year ago in the first quarter. So, I can find way. I got Michelle here. If they need somebody to lose $50 million, she can lose it for them. Just as easy as anybody else. Hey, Nebraska Angie, how are you? It is great to have you here. Great to have you here. Yeah, Kitty, I'm with you. I mean, I know people that live in cities that have to pay for parking spaces, or have it in their lease, how much they pay for a parking space if it's commercial space. This happens to be a personal parking space, okay, so that you can get to your condo. Okay, in Hong Kong, sold for $1.3 million. $1.3 million for a single, one car, one space. Okay, it's not even like a double space that you could get 2 cars into head to head. Okay, one car space, $1.3 million in Hong Kong. I mean, again, Michelle will spend that $1.3 million better for you. Okay, if you've got an extra $1 million, I'll hook you up with Michelle. Okay, there continues to be, and there may not be in your area, but there continues to be a lack of uniformity in following in state mask guidelines. In state mask guidelines. I am with you, Kitty. I don't want to live there and have that kind of expense either, although Hong Kong I might want to visit someday. I don't know. That whole side of the world I've never been to. I've never been to that side of the world. There is no uniformity in state policies regarding masks, and I'm going to give you a couple of bad examples tonight. So the National Retail Federation has reached out to the National Governors Association. Our friends at the National Retail Federation are asking the National Governors Association, which is currently chaired by Andrew Cuomo. You guys know who he is. And they are asking the National Governors Association for uniformity and following the CDC guidelines, and to ask states not to make retail workers the enforcers of policies. Some states have required businesses to ascertain every employee's vaccination status. Some have outright prohibited businesses from even asking about a vaccination status. And some have gone even further and required that they verify their customers' vaccination status. And, the National Retail Federation is asking that businesses be allowed the flexibility to follow the best course of action. Again, you're the governor of your store to do that. California, for example, just announced new revisions to that state's emergency orders. Under the new language, vaccinated employees can only enter their workplace unmasked if everyone in the workplace is also vaccinated. Thus, California is also requiring every employer to know the vaccination status of every employee and apply different treatments to the employees based on their vaccination status. Oregon is that employees must verify that employees have been fully vaccinated before employees can be at work without a mask. Oregon employers cannot utilize the honor system regarding their employees' vaccination status, even if the employer has no interest in obtaining vaccination certification. In contrast, Montana recognized an individual's vaccination status as a protected category, which is aimed to prohibit employers from requiring employees to receive a vaccination or disclose their immunization status. Oregon further mandated that retailers wishing to discontinue mask requirements for customers must require, request, and review proof of each customer's vaccination status prior to entry or admission. So these laws are just nuts and really fly in the face of the CDC guidance and just make it impossible to operate. I mean, with anything. And with the variety of customer views on all this as we go across the country, it is, you do what's right in your store is still what I believe in, but I'm glad the National Retail Federation is fighting for your rights to be governor of your store. What are you doing, Kelly? You're still requiring people to wear masks, customers and staff to wear masks through the end of June, and we have most cooperating, but a few have left disgruntled. Yeah, I mean, it is tough. We still have some doing some of each, both employees and customers. Cassandra and I tend to wear our masks mostly when we're in the store, out of offering comfort to everybody else more than anything else is why we do it. We believe in the science behind it. We've been fully vaccinated for months. We do it out of that care for everyone else is why we're doing it when we are in store. But I do see differences. Connecticut, which has been without masks longer, as I was out today running in and around, I saw much less people wearing masks than I did the last time I was out running errands. HIPAA, Kitty, where does HIPAA come into all this? Employment law is trumping HIPAA on this. because of the spread of it. It's just like knowing whether somebody had COVID. You walk the fine line with how much of the real key with HIPAA and the employment law is how much you share with anybody else. You as an employer have a right to know. It's the keeping things confidential, which is why a lot of companies that offered incentives didn't even want the paperwork saying that you actually got the vaccine. That was just an opt-in. You say, yep, I took time to get the vaccine, whether you got it or not. So like say they gave a bonus, like I gave the $100 bonus. I followed the rule where I wanted a copy on everybody and I added it to their employee file. And that I got it before I paid the $100 bonus. Many companies just did it where if you said, yep, I got it, or I took time off to go get a vaccine, they paid the time. I'm not sure, Michelle, if you're not seeing anybody else's. Sometimes what I have is I have to swipe left or right. I have to swipe one way or the other. I try to be talking about what people say so that you don't have to see the comments, but I don't know. I know I'm far from perfect on that. A couple quick government notes tonight. A couple quick ones. Small businesses are continuing to cry foul as states are taxing PPP loans. So there are a few states, there are I think 10 of them that are taxing PPP loans. Actually, technically 11 because Florida is doing it in certain circumstances. Not yours, Jennifer. Vermont, California, Hawaii, Minnesota, Nevada, New Hampshire, North Carolina, Texas, Utah, and Washington are taxing PPP loans in certain circumstances. So be aware of that. Those are the states that are doing that. Just be aware of it if you're in that state. Again, you got a lot of money. That's a good thing. But that is within the state rights. And states are doing a lot of funky things trying to raise revenue. Although 29 of the states have more tax revenue than they during the last fiscal year, including all of COVID, okay, than they did in the 2019 fiscal year. So with everything they've got, even without the federal money that they got, okay, they have earned enough tax revenue from other things, housing sales, sales tax, other things, that most states, 29 of the states, have more revenue. Okay, there are states that are extremely tourist based, like Hawaii, okay, that are down. But 29 states have more tax revenue than they did than during the COVID period, have earned more money than they did any other time. Just be aware of that. And that, this is, again, you got to lobby for this stuff. I mean, politics is all local. This is why I'm out there. I can't be in 11 other states. I'm having enough trouble keeping up with Massachusetts and what's happening at the federal level. But just be aware of that. And call your local representatives if you're in one of those states and say, what the heck? What the heck? There was some thought. So PPP money, just for a second, while we're on PPP, the SBA is still processing PPPs that were in process before it closed on May 31st. There was this whole thought that there was going to be extra money left over at the end. Isabella Guzman, the head of the SBA, has said there won't be any money left. It'll all be spent. So all the PPP money will be committed, although there are still PPPs that are in process that were in before May 31st. If you have not gotten the EIDL targeted advance, okay, either because you never applied for an economic injury disaster loan or because you applied after December 27th, but you're in one of the SBA's deemed low-income areas per their map, the SBA is going to be opening that up to everybody soon. Everybody, not just earlier loans or loan filers. So later this month, they will be opening it to everyone, is the information I have from our friends at the SBA. I will keep you updated on that, but that is good news for many, that both the targeted advance and supplemental will open up. And there will be a special application versus an invite only for that, for those that have not received that yet. So that is good news, and there's lots of funding out there for it. So keep that in mind. You know what else to keep in mind is this video and everything I talk about. This video and everything I talk about goes over to narts.org/resale strong by noon the next day. All the files, all the reference points, everything I talk about goes over to narts.org/resale strong, including a direct link to the YouTube channel. You're not alone running this store. No, you're not. Where you can like, comment, subscribe, and yes, you can ring the bell. Ring that bell so you know when a new one drops. You can also share it with everybody you know in business, the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, whoever you know. Share narts.org/resale strong so we can help every industry make it through. At some point, we'll post a list of everybody that all the industries we've helped. It's a long list. We've maintained a list. It's not to call more than the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker out, but it's so important that we help everybody. That's what we do here. What's happening, Sylvia? You got your invite today. Yay. Yay. Congratulations on getting the supplemental invite today. I'm glad to hear that. That's great news. A lot of those are going out, and that will continue to happen. And that is very good news. I'm glad to hear it because I want everybody to get what they're entitled to. Everybody. So you build back stronger. We're here. I'm here every night at more 8 than ish live in the Narts private Facebook group and streaming on YouTube. That's where you find me every night. But if you have a question in between, you just email me. Neil, Neil, at ECIstores.com, Neil at ECIstores.com. I tell you, that's the best way to reach me. I've had several people try to Facebook me and stuff lately. I lose track of that because so many people try to catch me that way. And the emails I can keep all organized, versus Facebook Messenger and stuff just gets lost because I get too many of the things. We start this program every night with the Good Morning, Goodnight Book. The Good Morning, Goodnight Book is how we start this program every night. If you were not here at the top of the program, our good morning today is good morning. Give a little more than you think you can today. It'll come back around somehow, I promise. That's what I got for you. Our good night tonight is good night. New ideas are waiting for you on the other side of sleep. Don't be afraid of going to meet them. Yeah, that's what I got for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Neil Abramson. I do like a good party, a wedding, a bar mitzvah even. We will party again. We will party in person. And when we do, I'm going to be there with you. But until then, and until tomorrow at more 8 than ish, know that you, but most importantly you, yes you, you're not alone running this store. It's time for dessert, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great night.